Thank you for joining us once again. If you have just turned on your TV, we have a program entitled Building Bridges of Hope, featuring Pastor Nathan Muyambango. Pastor, I had cut you before going for a break. You were talking about the famous Facebook pages or social media platforms like the Emblem, Baku SDA, Inspirational Youth or Youth Inspiration.
Yes.
Yes. Continue with your line of thought.
Okay, so I was basically saying that these are our partners. Yeah, remember that there is a world to reach. And if they have the platforms that the church is yet to create, we need to find a way of collaborating with these, our colleagues who are already on those platforms. Yeah, and like I said, minimal guidance or collaborative guidance should be put in place. Because what I mean is sometimes what you find is that maybe they are not aware of the influence that they wield. That if they can go rogue on leaders or begin to orchestrate a certain agenda against the church doctrine, that they begin to fuel some sort of crisis. And it's from this angle that I'm saying that this should be brought in, you know. Let's work with them.
Collaboration.
Yes, when we have our programs, we can use their platforms. Okay. In a similar way, when we have our seminars, when we have our trainings and whatnot, we bring them in so that maybe the basics of journalism is transmitted. You know, because if you're going to go public with a certain issue, it should be accurate, it should be factual, it should be verifiable. So when you're not sure about something, you need to find ways of getting to the bottom of it. And in that collaboration, they should also have easy access to I can say, decisions from the conferences or from the union. They can call about this issue, like what is the truth, so that they are given accurate information, and in record time or in real time, they're able to post. Because some of them, they rely on gathering information here and there, and it could not be true.
Are you then confirming that there is an information gap?
Well, an information gap does exist, and we can't run away from that. For example, are you aware that the Northern Zambia Union Conference has bought two hospitals?
Standard Lumumba?
Not even that
Where
one.
is that one? Oh,
Yeah.
two newly bought hospitals. Yeah. Share with us.
Yeah, the Northern Zambia Union, of course, that should come as official communication, but some significant months passed, if not even the other year, you know. But then this is just to show that if a person like you who works for Hope Channel
doesn't know,
could not be aware,
then there's an information gap.
Now imagine a person down there who just, especially treasurers in the church, who receipt the monies that are sent to the conference and to the union, and they're like, wow, huge monies are going up there. And they have no idea how this money is being administered, where it's
but
going.
Why is the information then not disseminated to the users of that information, the internal and external publics?
Well, like
or when would you like to disseminate that information?
Okay.
Or when is it appropriate?
I get you, my God, I get you. Well, the church is composed of different organs, different departments, and every department has its responsibility. So our leaders do their part.
Yes.
They do their vision casting, they implement those programs and whatnot. And it's a duty now of the communication responsible, you know, to give a leverage in disseminating this kind of news. So the way the church operates, by the way, the parties involved are written to formally, and the general membership will be reported to at a duly called business meeting, which is a session that comes sometimes 3 years for a conference and 5 years for the union. And the way the digital space works, it will not wait for you until then. People begin to criticize you now. People begin to suspect you and misunderstand you now. They may not have to wait for 5 years to hear what you have done and what you haven't done. And that is why we are now saying it's the responsibility of the communications department to use all forms of available modern media to reach to the internal publics who are our members and the external publics, the people who are outside. Elder Chitalu, I was almost telling you that my supervisor for masters was a Catholic. And when he saw my research topic, evaluating the practice of public relations in the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
A case study of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was amazed. He called me to his office.
Yes.
Now, you tell me, does the SDA Church have a public relations department? I said, absolutely yes. He says, no, I don't think so. I asked him why he thinks we don't have a public relations. And you'll be interested, the things he spelled out. Here is what he said. He says, me as a Catholic, the perception I have of the SDA Church is that they call us mark of the beast.
Yes.
Yeah, they tell us that we are not going to heaven, we changed the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday, and blah, blah, blah. And that is almost all that we know about them. But as an academician, referring to himself, I do know that the SDA Church has a robust education system. It's running currently in the country, including the health sector. We have some of the biggest institutions, the eye hospital, you know, Mwami and Yuka and all that. But then, someone out there has a perception of the church as people who disparage other denominations. And besides that, they know very little of what else we do.
I cut you a bit. In case you're watching us and you'd like to pose or ask a question, please visit our Facebook page. You can send us and we'll be able to respond to you. Talking about the Catholic Church, allow me to give you a question. In this communication, are you taking it like corporate communication or secular communication where there will be propaganda? For instance, the word propaganda itself comes from a Latin word, which means propagare, or we can also say in the Catholic Church, we had Congregation di Propaganda Fide. This was an organ that was just propagating the Catholic doctrine. No ill intentions, but just propagating to share with the Protestants. So here is our doctrine. It's still, please come back, it's still good. Now I compare it to corporate communication. Are you saying in communication department itself, you have elements of propaganda, of twisting, spinning, and trying to persuade us?
A very interesting question, Elder Chitalu. There is a difference between corporate communication and the communication that the Seventh-day Adventist Church practices. We are a corporate institution, quite all right, and we do practice corporate communication, quite all right. But the SDA Church goes further. Our communication is called communication for mission. What that means is we are now guided and governed by higher and nobler principles.
Communication for mission.
Yes.
But in this digital era, where it's not only about mission, but we have the social media, we have entertainment, we have propaganda, we have lies in order to get numbers. And then on the other side ourselves, we have communication and mission. Now, how are we marrying the two? Those were,
Yes. All right, maybe let's break it down. Corporate communication. You're talking about press statements, press releases, crisis management, crisis communication.
Press kits.
Yes. And in order to manage perception as a corporate communicator, we will come to the church communication. You can employ all guerrilla tactics in order to quell a crisis, and you can even employ lies, twist truth in order to come out clean for the institution. Corporate communication. And then the public relations can work in such a way that even things that could be true could be dismissed in order to protect the image of the institution. Corporate formation. First of all, we are guided by policy. Yeah, the vision of the communications department, according to policy of the church, is to present a favorable image of the church. Then we go further to the objective, to communicate to the internal and external publics, using these ethics now, accuracy, truth, and whatnot. Then what is meant by communicating for mission? We are not merely communicating, you know, like when you're on TV or on radio, you just talk and you don't know whether people are listening or they are not listening. But our burden as communication department is to communicate in such a way to win confidence and to win people for the kingdom of God.
Thank you so much. Earlier on, I had stopped you when I asked you, in these 9 months remaining,
Yes.
how are you going to make sure you evaluate the progress of communication strategies, goals, and also in other things that you have? I had cut you short.
All right. It almost sounds like the whole burden is now on me, which
Am
actually...
I putting it?
No. I mean the question of how are you going to...
Yes. Okay, the department.
Yeah. But let me mention that I'm not working alone. And by the way, I'm just an assistant to Pastor Ernesto Ricci, who himself is open-minded, is fast, is forward-thinking, and is determined to see that the communication prowess of the union is taken to another level. So what I am basically coming to do, or the opportunity that I've been given, is to strengthen what already has been existing. So you might want to know that the Northern Zambia Union, for the longest time, from I think since inception, has been running a news magazine called Northern Herald. They do have different communication platforms here and there, including a website. Yeah. The energy I bring now is to just ensure that much of what the union is already doing is strengthened. And maybe being associate, it gives me the leverage to be hands-on, to ensure that things that may not have been implemented because, for example, my director has had 3 departments. Now he can assign me to specific tasks to ensure that this is done, and that is done, and this is done. So some of the few things, by the way, yesterday we had a consultative meeting with the union president in the presence of my supervisor, Pastor Ricci, and we presented a communication strategy document which we have been given a go-ahead to begin to install and to implement. Let me highlight a few things from there. The main purpose or the main objective behind this strategic document is one thing: to bridge the information gap between management, our members, and the general public. How do we do that? Some of the ways that we are proposing is, number one, to have a news bulletin. Now, I'm aware, I only have 10 months. The current administration only has 10 months up to November. So that publication may only be maybe once or twice, which is not enough for this purpose. And because of this, we are hoping to begin the monthly newsletters. So it will be a magazine, but e-copies. You might want to know that every union, every conference, every district, every local church, and every department in the local church, most of them have WhatsApp groups.
Yes, they have.
And most of them are affiliates on social media. So if we were to go the e-copy way, we begin to engage people in a more systematic and strategic way. But that's only one way. Another way is to move in full throttle on our digital platforms. We are proposing that we have an integrated Facebook page. And maybe you should also ask me, why Facebook among many other social media platforms?
Why Facebook, yes?
Yeah, maybe we can get to that. Let me just finish my thought pattern. Yeah, okay. So an integrated now simply means that this thing of 16 departments, and each of them opens a Facebook page. You know what you do when you do that?
With 3 followers.
With 3 followers.
Another one with 7.
The moment you do that, you create a problem for yourself. First and foremost, if I was going to open a page like, what department can I pick on? Religious liberty. And you open a page, Northern Zambia Union, religious liberty. What I've done to myself there, if I was director for religious liberty, is that I have limited my content. And I have to struggle to even find the content for a page like that one. But if you consolidate, departments come together, and you now begin to communicate as an entity, you have everything to report on. Publishing can go there. Content and stories on music can go there. What is happening in the stewardship arena can go there. You only leave out things like the presidential page and the youth page. Why the youth page? The youth, I think, is the largest body or department. So you have adventurer, pathfinder, ambassadors, young adults, then PCM and chaplaincy. So let them be alone. Already they are enough on their own. But then for the rest of the departments, have a consolidated and integrated social media presence.
Well, a consolidated social media platform. I still come and ask on behalf of local churches. There have been a lot of policies, documents, write-ups, theories. Allow me just to exaggerate here and there. But what are we doing to help communication secretaries in churches who might not even have social media platforms? Communication leaders that are in rural areas, and also communication secretaries or leaders that are in modern churches but are not useful to their departments, or they are not doing much. Vis-a-vis the policies, documentation, strategies that we have, are we reaching them? Are we helping them?
I'm under the impression that among the departments that are most neglected in our church is the communication department. Beginning from the lowest local church.
Including the budget.
Including the budget.
There.
Yeah. So you will find that first and foremost, the communication department is a bandwagon that carries the whole church. Yeah. It's a utility department. It carries the whole church. When doctors have a program, they have built a house in the community, that's news. And that news should be disseminated. And it's a responsibility of the communications department to give coverage for such an event. Similarly, issues of live streaming, and it all hinges on communication. And this is where communication is unfairly treated. Budgeting. I'm dealing with a local church scenario. Let's say you're a local church. Where is your membership?
Helen Kaunda SDA Church.
Helen Kaunda SDA Church. Let's say, for argument's sake, your annual budget as a local church for 2025 is 300,000. The mistake that most churches do, they will say, okay, 20,000 music. They will say 15,000 Sabbath school, and they go on. PM will be given the largest chunk because they do evangelism and whatnot. Then communication, they can give you
1,500.
Yeah. They can give you a 5-pin or a 10-pin. If you're lucky, even 15-pin. Maybe even 20-pin. Now, what our local churches should be aware of is that most of the budgets of the communication department are once off. If you give even 50,000 to communications department, that's nothing. That's nothing. Just a 4K camera, a standard 4K camera, costs more than that. And then you have given them 15-pin. And you're asking them in that 15-pin to replace the cables. You are asking them that 15-pin to be buying batteries for the whole year in that small 15-pin. So this year, they will buy microphones. And next year, when the budget is out, some of these microphones are already worn out.
Are we saying, with the coming in of the associate communications director,
Yes.
we are going to have hope for these, for communication departments?
because now, of course, the church has been championing this, but maybe now we just need to intensify in, pushing and making awareness of the role that communications department play. What I mean by once off, if this year you buy cameras, you buy graphic cards, good computers and whatnot, and it costs you 150,000, it costs you 200,000, that's okay. You can be sure that you will not buy those things next year again. In fact, next year, you can even just give them a 5-pin or a 10-pin as a utility. Yeah. So now, all we are now just trying to say is we need to make aware our local churches the important role that the communication department does play.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about, I know you had mentioned a bit on the ethics. Let's talk about how are you going to ensure that ethics and guidelines are followed by the church and its departments that will be under your supervision?
Well, professional ethics in communications require that, first of all, we are honest, we are truthful, we are accurate, and many of those things where what we report is trustworthy, So if you find yourself in a communication, managing the communications aspect of a local church, you should be aware that there are these, ethics that need to be adhered to. And I think it should not end there. It also ends to, this thing of where a church opens a page and say a communication leader manage it. And sometimes they say, no, put the church clerk because he has announcements. He can be throwing announcements there. Then later they realize, but usually say elders that make decisions. Okay, put admin there, and they put anyone there. We should be able to come up with an editorial policy. Editorial policy is the how, what, when, where. Okay. How do you manage your platforms? And when you have done that, come up with an editorial team of experts.
Pastor, sorry, I have to cut you short. At this point in time, viewers, allow me just to give one short question. After that, I'll ask for closing remarks from Pastor Nathan Muyambango. Pastor, when it comes to communication under the church, have you ever found yourself in an ethical dilemma where decisions have to be made? And where do you place your loyalty when it comes to, in your duty of communication?
Are you able to give an example? Just anything?
Anything. Say ethical dilemma, it's where you have to post. Okay, say it's the situation is like this.
Yes.
But what you have to post has to be in a different way.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, but we live in an environment that is super sensitive. And you should be wise as a serpent and humble as a dove.
As a dove.
Yeah, because our communication has implications. Yeah, even this interview has the potential of touching on some of the sensitive things that I could not be aware of. Yeah, but things that you are aware of, to say, if I was to put up this kind of publication, I'm likely to trigger such a reaction. So you can find a way. If you cannot adapt your messaging, then you can adapt your, you can opt otherwise.
So in short, for those managing pages where you're not sure, feel free to consult the communications department. If you fall under Northern Zambia Union Conference, unlike writing or posting on your page as if you were the authority, the communications department is now here to stay. Your closing remarks.
Thank you very much for having me. Can I look at the camera and talk to the church and to the public, people that are watching? So we should thank God for COVID, because COVID-19 came with a blessing. What COVID has proven to us is that some of the fears we had for modern technology and modern way of communication. Actually, we have realized too late that we should have started early. The way church was run yesterday and the way church is being run today is obviously different. Times have changed and times are fast changing. It is a responsibility of every local church and of every Christian to realize that that verse that says that what you do with one hand, the other hand should not know, is more individual. When it comes to corporate resources, corporate activities, like the way the church is a corporate institution, everything we do is public and should be made public, and that is precisely the responsibility of the communications department. If your local church has not invested in the communication department, maybe it's time to consider otherwise. When members have not come to church, they should have the privilege of being able to see and watch what is happening at church through well-built live streaming services. We should be able to reach a point where we're able to stream in HD. And even people who are not there are able to be reached. Elder Daddy, if God allows that I go and worship, one day the Sabbath finds me in the US, I would want to go and worship at Sligo SDA Church.
Sligo.
I am their online follower. I don't even know where in the world that church exists. But for the longest time, I worship with them. I follow their sermons, I follow their weeks of prayers, and that's what the communication department does. It allows you to have an influence of people that may not be physically with you there. And remember, you are only as good as you are able to communicate. Thank you, my elder.
We have come to the end of the program. Once again, remember, communication is the lifeblood of every institution. Whether be it the church or the corporate entity, we need to communicate right even in our homes or at personal level, at corporate level, church level. Thank you so much, my guest, Pastor Nathan Muyambango, for coming on this program, Building Bridges of Hope. See you next time. We may have him again to explain or clarify one or two questions. For now, thank you so much and stay blessed.